Welcome to day 26 of Lent. Have you ever heard that phrase, I've got good news and I've got bad news? Which one do you want first? Okay, well, let me give you the bad news first. You and me, well, we're sinners, and we like it. There's sin in our lives, and it just takes way too much work in order to rid ourselves of it. So we just let it stay there. Am I right? I mean, think about it for a moment. Have you prayed for forgiveness for a particular sin more than a dozen times? And if you answer no, then either you don't confess your sins to God or you're lying to yourself. You see, it's our human nature to sin. And the bad news is that we're all sinners. In fact, the cross is bad news for each of us. It confronts us with the fact that there's something fundamentally broken inside of us that we have neither the desire nor the power to fix without divine intervention. And the cross calls us to admit that the greatest danger in our lives is to be found inside of us, not outside. Jesus came to be that perfect lamb of sacrifice, paying the penalty for our sin. Why? Because the worst news of all is the bad news that sin not only distorts everything in our lives and separates us from God, but it also leads to eternal death. Sin is the bad news that we must accept. Sin is the thing that keeps us from God that we must confess. It is the bad news about all of us, and no one is an exception. You cannot understand the cross of Jesus Christ and be satisfied with pockets of sin in your life. So that's the bad news. So what's the good news? Well, the cross is also the good news. The dissatisfaction of God is the hope of humanity. The cross tells us that God is willing to do whatever is necessary to fix what sin has broken. It tells us that God is going to move in love and pour out His rescuing, forgiving, and transforming and delivering grace. The cross welcomes us to look inside and around us and to be dissatisfied. It welcomes us not only to the dissatisfaction that leaves us hopeless, but a dissatisfaction that leads us to the foot of the cross where mercy and grace are found. Lent reminds us that to be satisfied, to say that you're okay and without need of help, that you must close your eyes and shut your ears to the bad news of sin that somehow confronts us every day. Lent welcomes you to bring a dissatisfied heart to your Redeemer, one who has seen and has accepted the bad news, and to reach out for the help that He alone is able to give. Only those who willingly receive the bad news will then seek and celebrate the good news.